Rain hammered down over the streets of Kansas City as Gaia soared above the cityscape, her emerald eyes scanning the darkness behind black goggles. One hand gripped the edge of her cement glider, an improvised slab shaped by her wheel, while the other remained free, ready for anything. The city was quiet, too quiet. That nagging feeling in her gut had returned, a subtle shift that whispered of something wrong. Her instincts were rarely off, but this time the danger remained undefined, just beyond the horizon of her senses. Then, as she paused over a wide expanse of land, something caught her eye, something out of place, and unmistakably sinister. So, this is the world I once watched from the glided caves. A low shudder escaped its throat, thick with sensories of madness and delight. Alucard stepped out from the shadow like a living nightmare, crimson eyes burning beneath the brim of his wide hat. The rain hissed as it shook his coat, but he walked untouched, as if nature itself filled the land upon him. No more shames, no more orders barked from trembling mortals, no more pretending to be a dog in a collar, wagging his tail for the sake of queens and flags. He tilted his head to the sky, letting the storm reflect the chaos inside him. The sensories of blood, woe, silence, obedience, all boiling to the surface now that the leaves have been cut. I am not their weapon. I am not their shield. I am Alucard. His voice darkened, rising with a terrible reverence. I am the dragon they buried beneath the throne. I am the shaman they failed to summon. I am the reckoning they tried to tame. The shadow withered around him, twisted into demonic shapes that had present distorted the world. Let the world scream. Let it burn. Let every god and monster rise to challenge me. I will shine them in red and laugh as they fall. There is no peace left for this world, only the wrath for what they thought they had caged. His smile widened, fangs glimmering. The king is dead. The hound is gone. Only the vampire remains. The moment Tori saw the man clad in red and yellow, a wave of dread swept over her. Nothing could ever follow a presence like his. She swooped down, her cement platform slamming against the pavement as she landed squarely in front of him. Stepping off, her emerald eyes locked onto his, unwavering focus. Her heart pounded harder. The air itself seemed to thicken around him. You look delightfully evil. She didn't blink, didn't flinch. Her body remained still, save for the measure, rise and fall of her breath. Any subtle movement might be the trigger. You wouldn't happen to be up to no good now, would you? The vampire grinned. It was not the grin of a man amused, nor one showing gratitude for a compliment. It was a grin of something ancient and terrible, something that fed on the courage of others like wine. His crimson eyes gleamed beneath the brim of his hat, locking onto the girl before him. Brave, foolish, alive. Delightfully evil, you say? His voice was smooth and fatally laced with mockery and an undercurrent of bottomless hunger. Oh, my dear, you have no idea how white you are. He took a step forward, the puddle beneath his boots rippled, not just from the rain but from the sheer weight of his presence. Shadows moved unnaturally behind him, stretching and clawing along the ground like living things yearning to be free. And what are you, little green bird? Come to clip the wings of a monster? Or perhaps... He leaned forward, his grin widening into something inhuman. You've come to bleed. The air grew colder, not from the storm above, but from the ancient darkness that stirred around him, unfurling like a great beast walking from slumber. Yet despite it all, he didn't strike. Not yet. He was savoring this. Make your move, hero. Entertain me. Whatever you say, Carmen San Diego. The crypt slipped out more for her own comfort than his amusement. Humor was her armor, thin perhaps, but better than nothing when standing in the presence of such overwhelming darkness. She had faced gods, titans, even death itself, but this man, shaped in blood and shadow, felt different, older, hungrier. Her eyes narrowed, the storm around him forgotten. You're not human, are you? The throat earned a low amused chuckle, a sound like coffins creaking open in the dead of night. Carmen San Diego, he echoed with a smirk, as if tasting the words. Cute, you're not the first to hide fear behind humor, but few do it with such style. He tilted his head, half casting his eyes in the shadow for a fleeting moment before they glowed once more. 2 crimson moons and a sea of black. Then came the question. Human? He laughed now, loud and unrestrained, a deep echoing sound that rumbled through the air like thunder before a slaughter. The laughter faded as quickly as it came, replaced by a crooked knowing grin. I was, once, a long, long time ago. He stepped closer, his voice sharpened to a whisper that somehow carried on the wind. But humanity is a case, a weakness. I devoured mine centuries ago. A pause, he lifted his arm slightly, as if presented himself to her. Now I am what wastes in the dark, what gods feel when their temples burn. I am the inner monsters and the beginning of something worse. He grinned wide, too wide. Still want to test your luck, little hero? Even his laugh sent a chill down Tori's spine. It wasn't the laugh of a man amused or even remotely human. It was the laugh of something monstrous, and she faced plenty of monsters before. The name's Gaia. Her voice was steady, firm. I don't know who or what you are, but I won't let you hurt anyone. She raised a hand, cuddling her fingers into a fist. From her forearm, a fine slid out and coiled into her palm, ready to strike. Walk away and this ends here. But if you linger, she smirked. Let's just say you wore the white collar today. Alucard's crimson eyes gleamed with cruel amusement at the fine cord in her hand. He gave a low, guttural chuckle, a sound like bones grinding together in the dark. Oh, how quaint. His voice was silk and still, smooth yet edged with menace. The little green warrior summons her weapons, daring to face the inevitable. He took a deliberate step forward, shadows shifting and writhing behind him like hungry serpents. You speak of innocence. Yet what is innocence to a predator like me? Merely the first curse. A cold smile spread beneath his hat. But I'll indulge you. Walk away and this ends, for now. Stay and we dance in crimson. He spread his arms wide, as if inviting her into the maw of chaos itself. Choose wildly, Gaia. The night is long, and I am patient, but not merciful. Giving me the chance to walk? So you're a shelterman after all. Tori sized him up carefully. With that shin coat, it was impossible to tell what weapons he might be hiding, or what other abilities lurked beneath. She had faced the unknown before, and unless this man was a god, he wasn't worse than what she battled as Kansas City protector. Yet something at the base of her spine whispered a warning, challenging her confidence. I'm not going anywhere. Looks like we're at an impasse. Her fingers tightened around the vine, eyes locked unwaveringly on the man in crimson. Like they always say, ladies first. With a swift motion, she unleashed the vine, rapidly embedding as it aimed to wrap and bind him, neutralizing the threat. But deep down, the voice told us wouldn't be enough. Alucard's crimson eyes gleamed with cold amusement as the vine lunged towards him. With a fluid motion, he shot both his weapons, the .454 castle and the massive 13mm shackle, each glinting ominously in the dim light. A bold move, little bird. His voice was smooth, shipping with dark elegance as he effortlessly sidestepped the grasping tendrils. With a sharp crack, the castle thundered, the bullet tearing through the thick vine as it were paper. The shackle followed, its devastating recoil barely slowing his relentless advance. Shadows swirled around him, shifting and pulsing like living smoke. His vampire aura shifted the air, shielding the very ground beneath their feet. Your toys won't hold me, he said, his grin widened into revealed glinting fangs. But I admire your spirit. Let's see if your body can keep up. In an instant, he vanished into the shadows, an impossible blow poised to strike with lethal precision. As the monster sheared weapons, Gaia summoned a hardened shield of tangled vines and bark ready to block any stray bullets as they tore through her binding tendrils. The moment she lowered her guard, the man had already vanished, but his ominous aura lingered thick in the darkness around her. A little late to be playing hide and seek, isn't it? Gaia stayed alert, every muscle tense. She reached out with her senses, attuned to the subtle vibration of the earth beneath her feet, an ancient connection that no shadow could conceal. If he thought he could sneak up on her, he was in for a surprise. A sinister smile curved beneath Alucard's wide grin as he melted with the shadows, becoming nothing more than a whisper on the wind. The vibration of the earth told her where he was, yet she couldn't grasp his true position. With a sudden explosive burst, he materialized mere inches from her side, the 13mm shackle leveled and fired. The wall of the gun shattered the night as the bullet tore through the air, aimed not just to injure but to intimidate. Clever little bird, he whispered, voice shipping with mockery. But you're playing in my domain now. Before she could react, Alucard vanished again, his presence a fading echo as he circled, hunting with deadly grace, every step promising wound. The moment the monster emerged from the shadow with weapon waved, Gaia spun on the balls of her feet, lifting a chunk of earth to form a makeshift wall against the incoming bullets. The rounds exploded on impact, sending debris flying, but Gaia quickly took control of the fragments, settling them gently to the ground to keep her path clear. Her mind remained sharp, her senses razor focused. He's toying with me, she thought. This is a game to him. Roost and vines spread beneath her feet as she extended her kinetics into the earth, shocking the monster every movement. You say I'm scared, she called out, voice steady and strong. But who's the one hiding in the shadows? Come out and face me. Alucard's crimson eye glowed brighter in the darkness as her words pierced the night air. A slow, almost lazy smile spread across his face. A predator amused by the boldness of his prey. Hiding? He echoed, voice silky and cold. No, little bird, I don't hide. I wait. I watch. I savor the moment before the hunt. With a flick of his wrist, the shadows around him shifted and withered, snapping into countless tendrils that snaked towards Gaia like eagle fingers. Face me, he mumbled, stepping forward, each movement smooth and deliberate. Very well, but be warned, this game is one you may not survive. His laughter, dark and deep, roared through the night as he prepared to close the distance, a nightmare made flesh, ready to unleash his wrath. Gaia met the incoming shadow tinged with vines and roots summoned from the earth itself. The soil rising in life as it shifted and surged to block the darker soap. Switching her goggles to night vision, she sharpened her sight in the thick darkness. She was almost certain he saw just fine, but if she was to stand a chance, she had to level the playing field. Even Suze never boasted this much, she quipped, a slight edge to her voice. Do you just enjoy the sound of your own voice, or is there something more behind all that bluster? Alucard's crimson eye flickered with amusement at her words cut through the night air. Compare me to Zeus, he mused, voice shipping with fiacre mockery. A god of thunder, yes, but I am far older, far darker. He stepped forward, shadows coiling around him like living smoke. The sound of my voice is a sympathy to those who understand its true power. You, however, he said with a slow, wicked smile, may find it a prelude to your demise. His laughter deep and cold echoed as he propelled to strike again, an ancient storm cloaked in crimson. Okay, Boomer, Tori's voice rang out as she shifted the earth beneath him, transforming the ground to quicksand, hoping to trap him in place. But with his ability to vanish and reappear at will, it might not hold him for long. Still, it was worth the attempt. Her fine coiled ready to strike through the shadows and retaliate. I get it, you're evil, but are we really going to chat about it all night? Alucard's crimson eyes flashed with amusement at the shaky insult. Okay, Boomer, is it? His voice was a low purr laced with dark humor. How refreshingly modern. With a grateful step, he slipped free from the quicksand grasp, the shadow parting him like obedient servants. You're quick, little bird, but even the fastest wings can be clipped. The air thickened as he raised his .454 castle, the bell glimmering coldly. Shall we see how well you fly when the night turns leak, though? At the flash of silver from his gun, Tori sprang into action, shooting a fine-shaped towards the weapon to snatch it from the grasp. Then, with a powerful stomp of her left foot, the earth beneath him erupted, hurling shards of walking debris in his direction. She stayed, sharp eyes scanning her surroundings, ready for whatever came next. You may command shadow, she said steadily, but I have the entire earth as my ally. Alucard's crimson eyes glinted as the earth exploded beneath him, but he remained unshaken. With a fluid motion, he shifted mid-air, narrowly avoiding the flying sharpnel. But before the debris could settle, he vanished into a swirl of shadows, only to reappear behind Gaia in a blink. The dirty millimeter shotgun appeared in his hand, its barrel aimed steadily at her. Impressive, he mumbled, voice silky and cold. The command of earth itself, but even the ground shivered before the storm of my brain. He pulled the trigger, the heavy rounds warned as they tore through the air, each shot a deadly promise. Gaia caught sight of the ebony pistol raised in his hand from the corner of her eye. With a sharp snap of her fingers, she altered the gravity along the bullet's trajectory, lightening it to lunar levels. The round floated upward, shifting harmlessly off course. She spun to face the crimson-clad monster, eyes filled. So, what's your stance on gravity? Without hesitation, she intensified the gravity above his head, trying to pin him down and force him to the ground, immobilizing her deadly opponent. Alucard's crimson eyes narrowed as the bullet shifted away, the path undone by her subtle command over gravity. He smiled, a slow dark curve that promised both amusement and menace. Gravity, an interesting concept. His voice was smooth, almost teasing. But I am no mere creature bound by your rules. With a subtle gesture, the intensified gravity pressed down on him, but instead of faltering, he laughed, a deep, chilling sound that echoed in the night. The shadows around him withered and surged, absorbing the weight like water over stone. You try to pin me down, little bird, but I am the storm that bends the world itself. Before she could react, he surged upward, breaking free of the invisible chains with a burst of overworldly strength ready to strike again. You talk more than a politician when all I asked was a yes or no question. As the man broke free from her gravity constraint, Tori realized she needed to rethink her strategy. This was no ordinary opponent. He defied the laws of nature itself. She had to be smarter, anticipate every move, and strike with precision. Summoning her power, she raised walls of earth between them, aiming to slow his movement and restrict his space. The barrier shifted and circled around him, closing in like a cage, hoping to back him into a corner, trap him if she could. His movements were wild, unpredictable, but the battlefield was hers to command. Alucard's crimson eyes gleamed as the walls of earth rose around him, an elegant cage fastened by Gaia's will. He moved with a dancer's grace, weaving effortlessly through the shifting barriers. A clever trap, he mumbled, voice shipping with amusement. But cages are for animals, and I am no beast to be pinned. With a flick of his wrist, shadows seeped into the cracks, unraveling the earth itself from within. The walls crumbled, fractured by forces beyond the Nassau. You control the field, little bird, he said with a sinister smile. But I am the storm that tears it asunder. He stepped forward, every movement radiating lethal intent, the night trembling in his wake. Gaia snapped her fingers and each wall erupted into shards of earth, razor sharp and deadly, slicing toward the monster's body. With relentless precision, she yanked the ground from beneath him, shifting his balance before hurling the upward slap into him, sending him soaring through the air. As he flew, thorny vines and roots shot out, aiming to entangle and pin him in place, biting him where he landed. Alucard snarled as the razor-sharp shard tore through the air, some glazing his coat but failing to pierce his supernatural form. The ground shifted beneath him, and with a burst of otherworldly strength he was hurled through the air, but he landed on his feet unbroken. Thorny vines and roots snaked towards him, but with a flick of his wrist, shadows swallowed the binding tendrils, dissolving him like mist. Impressive, he mumbled, crimson eyes glowing fiercely, but I am no stranger to pain or restraint. A wicked grin spread across his face as he rose, ready to turn the tide once more. Tori knew she had to do something about the shadows. They were becoming an increasingly dangerous nuisance. Raising both hands, she summoned razor-sharp vines that curled and showed around her fingers like living blades. With a flick, they shot forward, slicing through the air with deadly precision, aimed to cut straight through the creeping darkness and strike at the monster himself. Her goal was simple: pin him down, bind him in place, and finally bring his fight under control. The air hissed as the razor-sharp vines sliced forward, living whips laced with intent to kill. Alucard's eyes narrowed, gleaming like shooting blood moons in the dark. With preternatural speed, he brought the .454 castle up, firing a single shot. The blows of the gunfire tore through one of the vines mid-strike, but the other closed in fast. The shadows surged to meet them, clashing in a storm of black tendril and green blaze, and for a brief moment the battlefield became a whirlwind of nature and nightmare. One vine pierced through, slapping his coat and showing blood. Alucard paused. Then he smiled. You've shown blood, he said softly, almost reverently licking the corner of his mouth. Do you know how long it's been since someone managed that? He raised his arms as if to embrace the chaos. Yes. Bleed me more, Gaia. Let's make this dance unforgettable. His body began to shift, shadows warping around him, less man now, more monster. The sheer face of death was only beginning to show. That is enough. Gaia slammed her razor-sharp vines to the ground, gripping them tightly as her emerald eyes narrowed on the crimson-clad monster before her. I see it now. You are a monster through and through, and if that's the role you insist on playing. She yanked the vines free and hurled them forward with force, aiming to drive him back and pin him to a makeshift wall that erupted behind him, forged from the earth itself. Then I'll play mine, she said, voice steady. The woman who stops the monsters. The razor-sharp vine tore through the air, striking true. Alucard staggered back as they slammed him into the wall of earth behind him with a thunderous crack. Dust and debris filled the air. For a long moment everything was still. Then came the sound, slow, deliberate. Clap, clap, clap. The dust began to clear, and from the shadow wall, shadow bled like ink. The fines that pinned him chest and wither, eaten away by a darkness deeper than night. He stepped forward, tater but grinning. The woman who stops monsters, he echoed, voice low and reverent. How noble, how predictable. He raised the shackle, casually busting some dust from his coat with the other hand. But tell me, Gaia, he said, the gun now pointing at her heart, what happens when a monster doesn't stop? Without another word, he opened fire, a shadow tinge of coin behind the bullets, each one laced with pure mallets. Gaia flicked her wrist, sending a volley of razor-sharp fires screaming towards the incoming bullets and shadows. With precise timing, they struck the rounds at just the right angle to flatten the path before impact. As the shadow descended, she raised another wall of earth to intercept them, halting their advance. Then, with a sharp pull, she yanked on the fines, reversing the bullets' momentum and hurling them back towards their master at high velocity. In the same breath, she detonated the wall in front of her, launching a brutal storm of silver rounds and sharpener to Alucard, aiming the whip through his body with unrelenting force. The bullets he once fired now screamed back towards him, laced with sharp metal and vengeance. Earth exploded around him as silver and stone tore through the air, whipping into his body with sickening force. Chunks of coat and flesh scattered into the wind. For a moment, his form was obscured in the cloud, dust, and blood. Then came the laughter, low, broken, wizened. Through the haze, he emerged, body riddled with holes, breathing freely yet standing tall, his crimson eyes burning with unholy delight. Yes, he hissed, voice rapping with shifted ecstasy. That's it, hurt me. Shadows surged around him, distant tone flexed together with unnatural speed, bones cracked back into place, the grin on his face widened. Do you know what you're doing, Gaia? He asked, spreading his arms. You made me feel alive again. The shadow burst outward like wings, fell fast and hungry. Your turn. And he shaws. As the man shawed, Tori responded in kind. Walls of earth shot up between them one after another. Each one exploded in succession, shouting him with a relentless hard stone shaw. Still, he pressed forward. She slapped the ground, sending a burst of earth and bullets through the air, each one mimicking the caliber and force of his own ammunition, fired straight into his opposing foam. Then came the fines, razor sharp, lasting out and striving into his chest, every strike meant to slow the monster's advance. You're in love with pain, she muttered. Tori leapt back, creating distance, her fine coil protectively at her sides. Her eyes swept the battlefield, calculating her next move, ever watchful. Then something shifted. She lowered her stance, the fine softened, curling loosely at her feet as her expression changed from fierce determination to something almost mournful. Mammy, you're not a monster. Her voice was quieter now, edged with pity. Mammy, you're just a skeletal child looking for a place to die. Her emerald eyes fell with resolve. But I'm not going to give you the death you crave. I'm not like you, Red. She tightened her fists. I don't kill. The final wave of attacks tore through him, stone bullets and fine whipping into his flesh, already struggling to hold himself together. But it wasn't the pain that stopped him. It was her words. Alucard stood still, chest heaving and blood shipping from countless wounds that no longer matter. The battlefield was quiet, save for the whisper of wind through the broken earth and the slow pulse of Gaia's living fines. His head tilted slightly, crimson eyes locking with hers. No grin this time, just silence. You think this is about death? He asked, his voice lower now, almost hollow. You think I want to die? He took a step forward, slower this time. I've seen death. I've been it. I've buried kingdoms and shanked oceans dry. And still, he shuddered to himself, tone, bleeding, barely holding shape. Still I crawl forward. His gaze sharpened but not with rage, with something more shattered. Because there is no place for things like me to rest. Not in hell, not in heaven, not even in your earth. He lowered the shackle. So what are you really saving, Gaia? His voice cracked his belly as the shadow began to recede from his shoulders. Because if I'm not a monster, a pause, then what the hell am I? Tori listened quietly as the man spoke, and the monstrous image she'd seen began to fade, replaced by a sad, weary soul searching for meaning. Perhaps this battle was a mistake. Perhaps there was something far deeper atonement in him than a simple dust for blood. Still, God couldn't allow him to take another life, not on her walls, not in her city. I faced death itself, she began, voice steady and resolute. Monsters desperate to reclaim their humanity, God longing for the old ways, and Titan craving what was once theirs. She took a step forward, fine coil tightly in her hand, ready for whatever came next. You've been a monster for so long it never occurred to you, a pause, that you can be something else. Alucard's crimson eyes softened, flickering like dying embers as he regarded Gaia with a mixture of surprise and something approaching vulnerability. Something else, he echoed, voice low and rough. You speak of hope like it's a gift, but for creatures like me, hope is a curse. He took a slow step forward, shadows swirling gently around him, as if hesitant to embrace him fully. I've worn the mask of monster for centuries, because the world will sooner tear me apart than accept what lies beneath. A bitter smile tugged his lips. But maybe, just maybe, he paused, his gaze piercing. If someone like you believes it, perhaps there's a silver shoot in it after all. The shadow flickered softly as he lowered his weapons, not out of weakness, but choice. Tell me, Gaia, if I am more than this darkness, what must I become? It seemed the storm was beginning to pass, and perhaps Tori might find a way to reason with this ancient creature. Something that stirred within him in response to her words, and if she could reason with her voice, then half the battle was already won. Something more, she whispered at last, her emerald eyes never leaving his figure. The next move was his, and whatever path he showed, she would be there to witness his aftermath. Alucard stood motionless, the weight of her words pressing against the shadow that clung to him. For a heartbeat, the storm inside him quieted. Then slowly he lowered his weapon, the crimson glow in his eye dimmed, replaced by a flicker of something almost human, uncertainty. Something more, he repeated, voice barely above a whisper. If I am to become more, then I must leave behind everything I have known. He looked to the sky where Wayne began to lighten, and then back to Gaia. Show me this path, Gaia, but beware, I am not easily shamed. A faint smile turned Gaia's lips, and her fine slowly was shafted, melting seamlessly back into her skin. With steady step, Tori closed the distance and extended a hand, not as an adversary, but as a friend. Nothing worth doing in life ever comes easy, she said softly. Her emerald eyes locked into the crimson figure before her, patient and unwavering. Come with me, let me show you the way. Alucard regarded the outstretched hand with a mixture of suspicion and something resembling longing. The shadows that once clung so tightly to him flickered uncertainly, as if hesitating to relinquish their hold. He took a slow, deliberate step forward, eyes sussing hers for shoot. To walk a new path, he murmured, voice low on the wall. After centuries in darkness, it felt like stepping into the sun for the first time. His crimson gaze softened just enough to reveal the faintest glimmer of hope. Very well, Gaia, show me. And with that, the monster who was once death itself took the first tentative step towards something more. Gaia clasped the man's hand firmly, a kind smile gracing her lips. His choice spoke volumes, befitting the character far deeper than the bloodthirsty monster that had first emerged from the shadows. And in that moment, everything was said. Gaia had defeated the monster not with brute force or deadly weapons, but with kindness. The rain had finally softened to a gentle shizzle, washing away the scars of battle from the city streets below. Gaia and the man once cloaked in crimson stood side by side, silent witnesses to the quiet aftermath. In the stillness, a fragile peace settled, one born not from victory or conquest, but from understanding and hope. Tori looked to the horizon, feeling the weight of the night lift from her shoulder. Somewhere deep within, she knew this was only the beginning, a new chapter not just for them, but for the world they both vowed to protect. Because sometimes the greatest battles aren't fought with fists or weapons, but with the courage to choose something better. And that courage has just been won.